Good morning. I'm Deanne Battle, and this is the composite for the sixth or seventh time today. Okay, my apologies. It's like best laid plans, right? Anytime I try to like professionalize this show, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm ready to start at 11:30." The internet is interneting right now, so I had to turn off the Wi-Fi. So c'est la vie. I hope people have been well. Just a reminder, we are in season 3 of this show, right? So a total of, I think this will be the 39th episode, right? So we're doing the things, they're happening. And I hope people are doing well. I've been feeling pretty happy lately. I think because it's Aries season soon. Woo! All my Ram Gang folks, our time is coming. According to the zodiac, right? Aries is the first sign, so that's actually when the year starts, right? This is January, February, most of March. Those are preliminaries. Springs will spring, or will have officially sprung later this month, I think on the 21st. And then, there's more sun. We lost our hour here on the East Coast, daylight savings, but it's just nice that, there's more sun. I can be out with the dog and do stuff like that. So I've been feeling, like a calm happiness, not necessarily a contentedness, but that's where I am with things. So that's great. That's great. February is the shortest month and also the longest month. I've had colleagues in the past tell me that. So glad that is over. And then also I think I'd mentioned this last February, that was the raggediest Black History Month ever. It was just the stuff that was going on. I was like, okay, we need a reset, like between, people having rumors come out, charges, allegations, tell-alls, pettiness, bickering. It was just like, what is going on? But, there is a huge confluence of things, across the world, whether you're looking at, global political instability or finances, which I've definitely been looking at lately. There's a lot of stuff, right, that's either unsustainable or, kind of crashing in front of us. And I'm part of me, really working on evening my shit out is I know that before the year is over, we're probably going to have to deal with some massive new realities. Hopefully some of those new realities are positive, but I think some of them will be negative as well. And so I'm thinking about, staying ready so I don't have to get ready, right? I'm thinking about, managing, regulating my emotional heart space, head space, so I can, I think, better prepare for what might come forward. All right. So that's how I've been feeling about things. Then another thing that I want to talk to you about is I had mentioned that I wrote an essay for what's called a March Danceness contest. And the idea is that it's creative nonfiction writers. You start with 64 essays. And you do like a March Madness approximation, based on the song that the essay is attached to and the actual essay itself. And so just as a recap, in the first round of the tournament, I chose the song Get Right by Jennifer Lopez because it had to be a dance song from the early 2000s. So before, from 2000 to 2010, I believe, or 2009. And then, you had to, write about, well, like, why is this, a dance song, or why is this one of the best dance songs of that era? And so I signed up for it last year. I think I got the lottery pick toward the end of August, or I think by Labor Day. And I'm just taking a note here. Let's see. And so I got in, selected, which I was like surprised because, it's a bunch of different writers, but, you know, uh, writers, especially if you're thinking, not especially, let me not say that because I don't know what genre writers do, so let me not speak for them. But, generally, right, in my MFA program and other things. So you're either a fiction writer, you're doing short stories, novels, novellas, right? Or even flash fiction. You're a creative nonfiction writer, so you're doing memoir, personal essay, or, some sort of hybrid with prose poetry or something like that. Or you're a poet, right? There are people that do hybrid forms, but usually like select your primary genre. And so creative nonfiction is not my primary genre. I never wrote CNF really until I got into grad school and I took a course. And I mean, I took a course in undergrad as well, but with actually Cynthia Huntington, who's, definitely a solid writer slash name in that space. And it's funny because like when I was in her class, I had a lot of respect for her, but I just felt like she didn't like me or something, or like it just something felt like I couldn't approach her. I don't know what it was. And I just was really intimidated by her for some reason. I remember that. But I remember it being a good and rigorous class. But I like after that, I just kind of shied away from creative nonfiction, not because of her, but just because I felt unsure, I've written for a majority of my life, I think since I was like 6 or 7. And so I know I'm not the best, but I feel like, yeah, I'm like a solid intermediate, like, RIP to Kevin Samuels, but I know when it comes to attractiveness, right, when he talks about women, he's just like, oh, nobody's a 7, right? People say 7, but there's not a 7, right? I'm just like, what's wrong with the 7? 7s exist, right? So when it comes to writing, at the moment, I think I'm a solid 6.5 or 7, and I didn't feel like a solid 6.5 or 7 when I was in Cynthia Huntington's class, right? And so I kind of shied away from it. And then when I got my first master's degree, who does that? Well, anyway, when I got my first master's degree, I picked it up again and oh goodness, I'm forgetting her last name, which is crazy. Barbara. And I worked with her husband as well in fiction, Alan Lilchuk. Jesus. I'm forgetting Barbara's last name. I'm sorry. I'll put it in the chat, but I took her class in grad school, the first time I was in grad school. And, I gained a little bit more confidence, but then, I kind of backed away from it. So I've kind of been like flirting with it, but I haven't had a consistent practice with it or more consistent practice as I've had with fiction. And so I was gung-ho about, 2024, I'm going to get my work out there. And so I just wrote notes for, the direction that I wanted the essay to go in. And I just had all these cool ideas. And this was just going to be this epic thing. And then time was passing. It wasn't getting written. And I was feeling pretty anxious and exposed because I was just like, oh, what if it's not good? Because most of these other people are professional, da 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 da. But finally, I just, I just ripped the Band-Aid off. As I said last time, I just was like, okay, I really want to accelerate, right, the public aspect of my writing career. I want these words and these stories to actually connect with people. That's important to me. That's why telling stories, right? Telling a story to myself, right? For certain feelings and themes that it's beneficial for me to express. But I want to share it, but it's just that part of stepping off the precipice and letting that vulnerability show, it's hard. It's hard. And, again, I feel like, being a higher intermediate fiction writer, yeah, like, again, I think I'm a solid, 6.5, 7, overall, when I have a chance to revise and stuff. So being in that space and then going to creative nonfiction and putting it online and just being like, ooh, am I like a 4 or a 5 here in creative nonfiction? I hope not. I'm not that low, but I know that the full craft doesn't exist there yet. When I'm writing my fiction, I feel really in control. Excuse me, my neck has been a little out of sorts. When I'm writing my fiction, I feel, fully in control of the voice, right? How do these characters sound? What is the tone and the voice of the actual piece? I feel like I have some control there. And then creative nonfiction, I don't know how to explain it, but when it comes out, it just feels oftentimes stilted, right? Because it's me, right? It's about me. It's true. It's my sensibilities, but there's just something about the language that I haven't penetrated yet, like in terms of, as a writer, different versions of yourself, I think, exist in different mediums. And so what is my groove, right, in creative nonfiction? I'll have all of these ideas, and it's bad. I've got pages and pages of just, I don't know if you would call it a free write. I don't know if you would just call it musings, thoughts. It's definitely not journal entries, right? So it's elevated from that. But when I go back to look at it, I'm like, oh, wow, I wrote 6 pages of something, right? Because I'll come back to that, why I'm doing it. But, I'll write 6 pages and it's just like, oh, okay, now if it was fiction, I would know, okay, here's what I need to do to get the ball rolling and to kind of start polishing this stone into something. Whereas with creative nonfiction, I'm just kind of like, because I really think CNF writers, in terms of form, overall, from what I'm seeing and teaching, are doing some of the most innovative things with pushing form. And that's not to say it's not happening in fiction or poetry, but I think creative nonfiction is really at this point in time, I would say for like the last 15, 20 years, just based on some stuff that I'm seeing, getting more acquainted with the history of the genre. It seems like, it's accelerated. It's experimentation with form. And so then when I'm thinking about, if I got 6 pages of this or whatever, single spaced, and I'm like, what am I going to do with it? And it's been a little challenging. I don't, like, if you ask me about fiction, what are your main themes? What are you concerned about in fiction? I can answer that question. Creative nonfiction, what are you concerned about when you're writing about yourself or from your perspective? I don't know, man. It's like all different types of things. Usually what'll happen is, and this is the why, usually what'll happen is that I'll have an experience or I'll have a discussion, or sometimes I'm even out hearing conversations. When I'm just out in the world and I'm hearing people talking and stuff like that, can be a really strong catalyst for me for an essay. So I'll be out and about, and then, I'll just have this idea. And then, especially like if I'm traveling, like if I'm on a bus or a train or something like that, and I'm not driving, I'll just take out my phone and just, start writing paragraphs. And it'll just be like, again, sheets and sheets of paragraphs that I have no idea what I'm going to do with. So all of that being said, my Jennifer Lopez essay on Get Right, it's, I made it to round two. And I didn't think I was going to, because I was up against this Thong Song by Cisco. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, there's no way I'm going to win. And I beat that essay. I was like, wow, how did that happen? So I'm in round two now. But here's the thing. I'm up against Destiny's Child, Bootylicious. And so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But the polls just closed for round two. But anybody who makes it past this round is going to the Sweet 16. So, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I mean, I'm just proud of myself that, I kind of just made it through the first round. I need that encouragement. I really do. And I was talking to my writing group, one of my writing groups. I'm in two of them right now. I was in a third one, but I think it's on hiatus. I just, those check-ins are important for me. But I was talking to them about how, where I am in terms of my artist's consciousness right now. And, it's somewhat related to the pandemic, and I've probably mentioned it before. My life never went back to the way it was. When I was initially under lockdown teaching online, I adhered to everything. Like, I was bleaching grocery bags and doing all of that. And so I would go days and days where it was just like, I talked to people like this online, but I didn't see anybody really in person, unless they were like all the way across the street and things like that. And so, one thing that started happening to me is, okay, sorry, the connection went out for a sec there. So during that time, and then I'll speed past this, one thing that was happening for me was, so you're in the house, locked in by yourself, right? You've got a ton of time to think. And, those moments of quiet where it was like, I can't run from myself. I can't run from where I am in my life. From who I've become at this point. And there were things I think that were good about that, but then, definitely places where I needed to grow massively. And I mean, I think a lot of that has happened, but it's very uncomfortable to be like, wow, as a human, when it comes to X, I kind of suck. And just being like, oh, it's liberating in a sense, right? Because if you take yourself down a peg, right? I mean, what the fuck else is anybody going to do? But then at the same point, it's like, I've spent the last 2 years being like, yeah, you're not as good as you think you are, or as people tell you are, which is funny because like I never thought, oh, I'm this superior human or something. But I feel like the pandemic has sometimes dragged me to the pits of mediocrity hell. And it's one thing I prided myself on, is not being a mediocre person, right? But sometimes it's like, if you don't have the energy and you don't have the context to really be your authentic self in a successful way, then it's very easy to wilt. And so I was thinking about like, okay, wow, I've consistently been putting myself in places that, like, from the jump, I'm not going to be able to thrive here and really bring my full authenticity and creativity and artistry to what I'm doing in this space. And so two things happen. So the first thing is, you just, like I said, you have to sit with the fact that, like, yeah, there are just certain things I can't do. And And that doesn't mean can't forever, but just quite in this moment, I don't have the bandwidth for it, or I don't have the skill set for it, which is painful. But then on the flip side, again, acknowledging that, oh, well, part of the reason is that you've been handicapped, right? In the sense of you've been put strategically at a disadvantage in certain spaces. And so I'm trying to come to a place where I'm like, okay, as an adult, I've just, kind of bounced around a lot, but it's like, I've done the best that I could given the circumstances, I would say, but the circumstances haven't been great. And so how does that relate to creative nonfiction? Because it's been like this purge of just, having these thoughts, getting them out on the page. And so I've felt this shift in me, even when I am writing, this shift in me of, wow, like in 2024, I can really make a breakthrough with my writing. And because one thing that I always said is, no, I didn't have a book come out when I was 24, but nevertheless, I feel that I've done a lot of peeling back, assumptions, peeling back ego, and just getting to, right, what certain things are true about the human experience that I can articulate on the page. And so I feel like I'm just getting so close to where that part of it is easier, right? Because I'm doing the parallel internal spiritual work. So then the writing can flow better. I know this is like a little bit woo-woo, but I'm trying to explain it in a concrete way. So from a mental standpoint, basically, I feel as if I'm positioned to be a better writer because I'm trying to position myself to be a better person. I hope that makes sense. But at the same time, when I was talking to my writing group, when you're trying to push through those blockages, it's super hard. So like last week, as people were voting on my essay in round 1, I could feel anxiety and, this hyper self-awareness and, the self-esteem thing going. It was just kind of like one woman, she really wanted her friend to win over me. And so she started to like a minor low-key campaigning against my essay online. So I was like, oh, okay, your girl is coming up. You got haters. But then at the same point, I was like, damn, is it really that serious? I don't think we even win any money or anything. It's just like, I guess, bragging rights. Like, oh yeah, I won. And so, again, I'm glad I had the practice in that it's out there. But I was like, wow, she's really campaigning against this essay. All right, God bless. But, again, like seeing that, because I was like, oh, well, what does this mean? I'm on X, like, oh, how are people going to respond? But I didn't see anything that was like super negative. I don't know if people have responded recently on that thread, because I was just like, okay, I'm not going to look for this again. And just as a sidebar, by the way, I know I'm not going to be the writer that's reading reviews. I'm not going to do it. I'll take constructive criticism from like an editor or, someone in my writing group or something like that, but not, yeah, I won't be reading book reviews, because it's just like, it's not like they're not valid, but the thing is that I think the book reviews are really aimed at the audience, right, the readers. And so me reading a review and then maybe having a negative reaction, I'm not the audience for it. So it's not necessarily being upset that somebody doesn't like my writing, but it's more about like creating boundaries for my headspace, right? So for my process, like I can't have that thing in my head that's like, oh, you want to do X with this character, or you want to take the plot in this direction. Oh, but what about so and so who didn't like your last book? And yeah, I don't want to deal in that space. And so I'm moving ahead like years here because I don't have a book out yet. But I already know I'm not going to be the one out here reading reviews, as an artist, right? I want to tell the stories that come to me and the stories that I cultivate, and then I want to share those, and then I want to consistently get better at it, and then I want to, live in my home with, my family eventually, and then, yeah, just kick it, just lead my life. And so I feel like constantly being invested in what an industry says about you, I think it detracts from that experience for me, which is meditative, right? Writing is meditative. So all of that being said, I'm like chomping at the bit. I'm wondering how I did on the March Dance List, but I have my phone right here, so I can't check the scores at the moment. But I wouldn't be upset if I didn't make it to the Sweet 16 round, because like I said, it's already a win for me because I made it out of the first round. I set my expectations low. And I like setting my expectations low for many things, because when something's disappointing to me, I get really like, because I do have a vivid imagination. And so if you're thinking about the possibilities of what a person, right, specifically a man in a relationship, what are the possibilities of that, or the possibilities of, oh, this job, or oh, this place that you've moved to. I'll have like this whole world set up and just be like, oh, I can do this and do that, and then what about this and that, or whatever. And then you get to the person, place, or thing, and you're like, this shit is whack. And then it just spirals a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I've lowered many expectations. And I think that's something that I've learned with age. It's just like, Deanne, you're doing a little too much right now. The earth is quite ghetto at the moment. And so that being the case, and what I mean by that is just our planet is going through these societal deprivations of just like basic morality and competence. Those are a lot of the two things that I think are leading to a lot of our problems here. And so it's like, wow, again, missing basic morality and competence. And so when you're generally surrounded by that, like for me, it's hard to stay on point, because it's just like, this shit is raggedy, right? Like everything. And I didn't mean to go on a tangent with this, but just the way people are killing each other, whether it's, war, otherwise, starving, screwing up the planet, so on and so forth. And so those things have always been going on in cycles, but I think that this is the first group of people in human history, right, that like you can just, you open this thing and just see it all. And so my manager and I, one time we're talking about our students, and we're talking about cognitive load, that sometimes it's just like you have so much that you're thinking about that it just, you start to shut down a little bit. And I was like, wow, that's such a great term. I had never heard of it before. But I think the cognitive load of being exposed to the entire world in this little hunk of metal here and glass it does a lot, right? Again, in terms of psyche. And so I felt like, oh, if I set my expectations for people, places, and things a little lower, then I'll be a little less disappointed, right? Which, as I articulate it, it sounds a little sad. But nevertheless, that is what kept me from worrying as much about the March Danceness essay, right? I was worried, like, whether or not, like, enough people would like it. I don't even know what enough people means. But I wasn't like, oh, if this doesn't make it out of the first round, I'm going to be devastated, right? Because my low bar expectation was, Deanne, you wrote it and you gave it to them. Yay. One thing I might want to think about doing this year is mastering the art of baby steps. I'm not good at baby steps. It's like, from 0 to we're doing the things. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, we're not. Because that's too much to do in one setting at one time for one person. So this is me taking baby steps, and I want to thank everybody that did take an opportunity to read my Jennifer Lopez essay on her song Get Right. All right. Now, in more literary news, I'm being official today, y'all. We're talking writing today. There is a publisher, and I guess this is an official unboxing. There is a publisher that sent me books, and they are called Row House Books. And hold on a second, because I just the box came last night. I literally just opened it up. Yes. And Row House Books, they posted online, and they were talking about how they were, wanted to, like, send people books, just as, samples. Get my mind together. As samples, so, to publicize the books, to get them out there. And so the books arrived. So I want to let you know that Row House Books did send me this package here. But what I want to do is, in the next couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 of these, or maybe all of them, I don't know, have an opportunity to talk to you about the books that they've sent, because what I like about Row House is, from following them on social media, is that it is seems like a different, more collectivist way to publish, and I'm interested in those topics. I talked last season and the first season about things like mutual aid and cooperative learning or living, things like that. Again, it might seem hippy-dippy woo-woo, but I think realistically, again, back to the earth being ghetto, I think realistically, with all of the shit that we're doing, we're not going to have a choice. So I'm just like, I personally prefer to jump as opposed to be pushed. And so I haven't officially started, but like sometimes if I'm bored and I'm not in the mood to write, because even though it's work I enjoy, it is work in terms of craft. Sometimes I'll be like, let's read about co-housing, or let's read about unschooling or different things. And it's not that I'm going to adopt all of those lifestyle philosophies, but I'm trying to, again, expand my consciousness to different models and templates for just living here. And because we need one, this one is bad. This is a bad model for how to organize a society. And I'm thinking about ways that we can push the energy forward to better models. And so you have to get information. You need data points. And so I've been reading, different articles here or there, attending meetings. Like there was one co-living place, and I attended, their meeting, and just to see what they were about, get a sense of like, well, what happens when you do this? And so I continue to do that type of thing off and on. I haven't like made any changes to my life yet, but yeah, that information is coming, right? So again, as I work on being a better human, right? Being in better relationship with communities, or just even finding a community. I don't really feel like I have one right now. And then hoping that those processes internalize and then help me become a better writer, or at least help me with the clarity of my discernment in terms of what I'm putting on the page. So there's a lot happening, but I'm like a duck, right? I'm just kind of like this, and then the little paddling under the water. And so we'll see what happens with that. But Row House Books. So I have 5 titles here, and I'll just tell you about them briefly. And listen, just, check it out. See if you would want to support their projects. And this is, I don't have a vested interest in terms of like payment or anything like that. I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to be a good literary citizen. And so the first title is called Miss Major Speaks, Conversations with a Black Trans Revolutionary. And then it says Toshio Miranek, I'm butchering your name, and Miss Major. So it was co-authored with Miss Major. And here's what the book looks like. And Miss Major Griffins Gracie is a veteran of the Stonewall riots, right? So this is, really going to be tied in with that time and place, and, her experiences. Like, let me see what the chapters are. Yeah, it looks like it takes you from Stonewall to current day, in terms of Miss Major's life, right? Really focusing on her experience and passing down her wisdom to younger trans people. So, and then there are pictures and everything. So, yeah, I'm, excited to read this. Like, so for me, any of these, whether it's this or this next title or any title, when I see books about different things, it's, I'd never heard of Miss Major before the book arrived. So this is going to be really good for me to, learn about her legacy and how she affected society. I like the different experiences. I'm not a person that just, if you, for you educators out there, right, the windows and mirrors theory, right? So the idea, if you haven't heard of it, basically is that when you're teaching people, especially children, right, they need a curriculum that has mirrors, meaning they see themselves, and then they need windows, meaning they have a gateway into something else. And as I'm saying this, I feel like I've said this many times, hopefully not in these episodes, but yeah, I like the windows too. I don't just need the mirror. Lavon Briggs, Sensual Faith, The Art of Coming Home to Your Body. So this is the second title here, right? Now, I've definitely never read a book like this before, so this is going to be interesting. And it says, all right, I like this. So essentially, it's saying working on your spiritual wellness, right? And then having that spiritual wellness move into, alignment, with, your sexuality, or, being sensual in your body, right? Sometimes when we say sensual, we just mean that, like, being aware, that's a table, and being open to just how you feel, and this is a weird thing to say at this moment, but when we think about, right, Western ideals that have a Judeo-Christian nugget, which is, almost all of them, but that idea of the Holy Trinity, right? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. One time I was watching a talk and the person said, so that might work at a religious level, right? But then from a psychological and emotional level, the problem is that you're always divorcing parts of yourself, right? Because these, the deity, the savior that you follow, in your mind, you think, right, that those are all separate things. And so the person was saying, well, what happens if you spiritually saw yourself as whole, as fully integrated? Then how would that translate to how you treat yourselves and others on a daily basis? And so when I think about sensuality, like, your sight, sound, touch, taste, feeling, so on and so forth, it's about like that awareness of how does it feel, living in this skin suit in, this universe on this ghetto planet at this time. And I think a lot of people are not paying attention to their senses. So it would make sense, right? I don't believe I just said that. So it is understandable that if you're numb, right, and a majority of your time and effort are spent moving toward commerce, that you're not dialed in to your body and how that could lead you to, a healthy erotic experience or something like that. So that's what this seems like it's about. And how many chapters is it? Let's see what we got going here. Oh, where's the... Okay. Home, body's not a four-letter. Yeah, see, she has one chapter, chapter 4, but the Bible says, I didn't open this book before, I swear. And so see, and then it says, acknowledging what the church and society got wrong. See, that's the thing, I see myself as someone who is spiritual in the sense that I have a respect for spirituality and spiritual practices, but a lot of times organized religion, with the rigidity of some of this stuff, it can potentially do more damage than good for us. So that was for chapter 4. And then, chapter 8. Masturbation is a gift from God. Getting acquainted with desire. Okay, that's what's up. So I'm going to be looking forward to this book too. All right, now this is the biggest one here, and I love the color, okay? So it's called Abolition Geography, Essays Toward Liberation, and the author is Ruth Wilson Gilmore, okay? Look at this. This is gorgeous. All right. Now what's this one about? And she dedicates it to teachers. She's already got me on her side there a little bit there. It says a radical geographer with roots in the Black liberation movement of the 1960s and 70s. Gilmore pioneered the study of mass incarcerations, catastrophic impacts. Oh, okay, wow. Let me just look at the table of contents here. Okay, y'all, this is related to the earth being ghetto. I know I keep saying that because it is. So the parts here, what is to be done, race and space, prisons, militarisms, and the anti-state state, all right? And then organizing for abolition, so you know what time it is. All right, I'm going to enjoy that one, no doubt. Now this one is all the Black Girls Are Activists, a fourth wave womanist pursuit of dreams as radical resistance. And the author is Ebony Janice, right? Really pretty cover. And you know what I like thus far, picking all of these up? These are substantial. These are not flimsy paperbacks, right? I'm rough on books. I write in them like a serial killer, because like I really enjoy annotating. Is the only way I can really track my thoughts about something. And when I'm reading something, it comes everywhere with me, and so it gets beat up easily. I try not to go ham on it, but yeah, my well-loved books don't look good. And so what I like is this is substantial. You hear that? Like this is good. All right, so let's see what's going on with this. Okay. So she's basically dividing this movement into parts. So thinking about your body, wellness, so on and so forth. And then, oh, okay. Yeah, just, skipped again. Sorry. I was just saying that on the back cover it says, okay, really thinking about, right, how Black women are always under threat and who we could possibly be if we were not under threat. What are the possibilities? Dreaming of new worlds that are not ghetto. I like that. And this is the last one here. This is called Healing Justice Lineages. Okay. Dreaming at the Crossroads of Liberation, Collective Care. Yes, mutual aid. Yes. So I'm really glad I asked them to send me books. I'm going to have fun here. So collective care and safety, right? And this is written by Kara Page and Erica Woodland. And again, solid construction here. All right. This is a reader, okay? This is, it looks like this is a Black queer feminist inspired reader, right? Anti-capitalist, abolitionist, right? So what they've done, let me go to the table of contents. Yeah, this is like a history of these concepts in this movement. It says, reckoning with roots and lineage, origins of healing justice, political and spiritual imperatives for the future. And yeah, cool. Okay, Row House Publishing, thank you so much. This is going to be super fun. I enjoy it. I just enjoy like physically having books around. So that's led to trouble for me because I've moved so often. I know, like, I cried a little bit when I left New Jersey because I had all of these copies of the New Yorker and the Atlantic and books. I recycled James Baldwin, y'all. What's wrong with me? No, not James Baldwin. I think it was Langston Hughes. I was just desperate. I couldn't take stuff with me. I was out of time. I had to get out of the apartment. And I just started crying because I put Langston Hughes in the recycle bin outside of my apartment. And then, you know what happened? So I put like all of these books and these magazines, and they were in a heap. And these two young kids came by, and because one of them had a skateboard, and someone was like, oh, they've got books. And so they were having a conversation in front of the, little recycle bin in front of my apartment complex. And so I went to my front window in my living room, and I kind of like listened to the conversation. So they picked up the Langston Hughes, and then they picked up another book, and they were like, nah, this is whack, and put it down. And I was like, what? How dare you? But I was like, okay, let me finish moving so I can get out of this apartment, right? And, but I got into trouble, all of that being said, because I carry way too many books. And so I actually have a limit on, unless I'm doing research or scholarship, something where I need to present, I'm trying not to buy more than 5 books a year, right? So these don't count because I didn't pay for them. And hold on, let me show you a couple of other books. I said a couple. I'm a liar. Okay. So, my local library, I don't know what they're doing over there, but every time I go, they give away books. And these books barely looked touched. Okay? So, quickly, because I'm going to need to wrap up soon because I have to go to work. So this one, Shanna Berg, 1,000 Never Evers. And it looks like it might be YA, but I was like, how many people actually even read this? It's, you know what I mean? It's in great condition. And they put it out and said, hey, free books. And so what is this one about? So this is when I saw it and I was like kind of flipping through pages, I was getting a Louisa May Alcott vibe, which was putting me back in middle school. So that's why I grabbed that book. This one is called Zaber or The Psalms by Kamel Daoud. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. Let me try to take a fake accent out. Kamel Daoud, author of the Mersault investigation. I don't know what that is, but this book looks cool, so I grabbed this. And then, oh my gosh, I was so excited to see this one in the recycle bin. Julia Alvarez, I was talking about her last episode, and she's wonderful, and I have an opportunity to teach her. I've taught her, when did I teach how the Garcia girls lost their accent? I taught it 2 years in a row. I taught it in 2018 and 2019. And now I'm co-teaching First Muse from her. And she's a writer's writer. And this is called Saving the World. And I was like, oh, free Julia Alvarez. Yes, I love it. And then this one, The Intellectual Devotional, Revive Your Mind, Complete Your Education, and Roam Confidently with the Cultured Class. I was like, oh, I've got to check this out, right? Because I definitely don't roll with the bourgeoisie. How does that work? How does that get down? Oh, so this looks like more of kind of like an encyclopedic or dictionary-esque setup. We'll check that out. Now, this one here, I think I got this from a coworker, right? Okay, so these were from the library and these were free. And this one was from the library too. So Michael Pollan, I think most of you have heard of him before, right? This is called How to Change Your Mind, right? So it's funny because all of the books I've been getting for free in the last couple of months have aligned with things that I'm thinking about. So I'm like, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And so this Michael Pollan title, What the New Science of Psychedelics Teaches Us About Consciousness, Dying, Addiction, Depression, and Transcendence. And he's the guy who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, so that's where most people know him from. I haven't read the whole thing. I've read several chapters, excerpted for different classes and workshops. Yeah, check this out. This is a book where I would probably just, reference like specific sections. I don't know if I would read the whole thing, just being honest. Twilight Territory by Andrew X. Pham, right? So this is one that I got from a coworker. And it was an advanced copy, so I'm not sure where her hookups or connections are, but God bless, right? Oh, this is a historical novel, looks like. Amazing. Because I am writing, it says author's note. This novel is a work of fiction inspired by some events in the life of the author's maternal grandmother. Yeah. Yeah, and this is cool that I got this as well because my first novel that I'm working on has elements of historical fiction. So, yeah, basically in the flashbacks. But, and this is another one from my coworker, Jonathan Metzel, and it's called What We've Become, Living and Dying in a Country of Arms. See? Ghetto. It's like that word has been weaponized and directed at so many marginal people. No, the people running this shit, that is who's ghetto. Ridiculous. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be an important read, right? Like, so let's see here. It talks about the 17th counting, the insanity of the system. That's part 2. You all, I can't make this up. These books literally are books I've gotten in the last 2 months, and people have given them to me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 titles. All right, and I'm not a quick reader, so that's pretty much half the year, right? So could you imagine if I had spent money on these 12 books and without the guarantee that I would get through them in the year? That's just kind of like wah, 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 and so I have more discipline on the money side of it in terms of how much money I'm spending on books. But as you have just seen, I don't necessarily have more discipline about like how I am just hoarding free books. So baby steps yet again, right? And that's what I'm going to take here. All right. I think we'll wrap up the episode soon. I didn't think I was going to be vibing as much on the literary stuff as I am. Just because, like I said, like just confidence wise, I feel like I'm pushing through to a new level, but that I'm not there yet. And so that's been kind of messing with my confidence a bit. But yeah, I'm feeling in a literary mood today. I should have put on my reading glasses. I saw Reese Witherspoon's Instagram the other day, and she was talking about this book, and she had on her reading glasses, and she's sitting there painting. I'm like, she looks so official right now. Good for you. So yeah, that's a little bit about books. So what I'll do is that, as I'm reading through those books, like if I come across a good quote or something like that, or a concept that I want to talk about, I'll bring that into the show. I want to bring that part of me in this space, right? That writer element, because that is fundamental to who I am in this iteration. So I think it's important to talk about it and share, even though I do get a little shy about that part of it. All right. So the last thing that I want to say quickly, and I've made a similar comment before, when talking about the Met Gala. So initially, like, I thought, I'm doing this show, I'm talking about culture and stuff. I should probably check the Oscars out But then on Oscar day, I was like, I can't. I just didn't have any interest this year. I'm sorry. And I did listen to, I want to say 2 to 3 podcasts, or watch 2 or 3 podcasts on YouTube and see them talk about the red carpet and stuff. It just seemed like it was dull this year. And the fashions were very promy. It's just, this is snob alert. I'm about to say something shitty, and I own that it's shitty. Here's the thing, right? The entertainment industry, and I might have said this before. I try not to repeat myself. Anywho, part of what they sell you, right, is fantasies about who you can be in society, right? And so the seed of that is malcontent, right? In other words, you're like, oh, here's me, average Joe Schmo. I get up every day, I go to work, like I can't afford Givenchy or Jimmy Choo's, or I don't know, whatever designers people are wearing. And so when you look at a red carpet, it's like, oh, these are the celebrities, these are the luminaries, and there's this underlying narrative of aspiration. But what I've noticed, and this is why I brought up the Met Gala, and then looking at these Oscar gowns and stuff like that, it occurred to me, I'm like, wow, 95% of y'all tonight don't look better than me. And you can have questions about why I have that expectation, right? Because there are elements of that are problematic. But again, as someone, grow up TV, and I think even more so for me, when I was in high school and college, magazines were really detrimental, right? Because, in the late 90s and early 2000s, everyone looked like this, and I've never looked like that. And so seeing all of that all the time, I actually had to unsubscribe from magazines because I felt like it was damaging me psychologically. And so I bring that up because, again, Pavlovian situation here. You've been trained, right, by this industry and this media to think like, oh, these people are better looking, they're more fashionable, they have money, whatever. Like, isn't this so wonderful? Like, watch the red carpet, right? We don't have royalty, but we have Hollywood, And then you look at the outfits, and it's just kind of like, this is prom. It was prom. I can do prom right now. I have prom in my closet. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of like, well, if I'm not seeing what that level of success looks like, then what are we doing here, folks? Like, we don't want to watch it. Like, there's zero old Hollywood glamour. Just generally right now, it's weird. It's really weird. I don't know what they're doing. And then chicks are walking around with floating straps. That's irritating, right? Because you can't move. Like, can you hug people? Can you, like, and then this thing is just kind of it's distracting. Who did that? Why was that a choice? I don't know. I'm picking on that particular issue, but it wasn't the only issue. It's just a lot of people, their stuff was like so simple to the point of there were no visual interest pieces. Like Jennifer Lawrence, I don't think anything was wrong with her gown, but it visually wasn't interesting. It's just like, oh, okay, like, senior prom, have fun. Like, so that's from the outside. And then I've said something similar before, but I am going to emphasize this because this pisses me off as an artist, that you have all of the Kardashians except for Rob. I didn't see a picture of Rob. Where's Rob? But why are they at the Oscars, y'all? Do you understand? Like, minus white fingernail situations, if you know, these people have worked super hard, right? And so this is the day to acknowledge like all of the toil, right, that goes into the craft of storytelling in that particular medium. So what do Kim and Chris and all of them, like, what are they adding to that? I think that's so offensive. Anybody in the reality or social media space, I'm not downgrading what you all do, right? Because I'm in this space now. It's difficult, right? It's really difficult to connect with people and develop an authentic following as somebody that doesn't dance or sing or act, right? Because you don't have those same avenues. You don't have that platform. So there are people doing, revolutionary stuff in that space, but give them their own fucking award show, because you're bringing all of these people in that space and it's just not, it's dissonant, right? It's just like, okay, so here are people who, oh, I went to Yale School of Drama. I, waited tables for X number of years and did plays. And then I got a background role on a TV show. And then I got, a secondary role on a TV show. And then I got a starring role in a movie. It just, people go through too much to have to stand next to Kim Kardashian. I'm sorry. And it's nothing against her, because I think that she has things that she's done really well, from creating an enterprise and a business. But there's another avenue for her, and the industry, you all keep trying to shove her in spaces where there are actual artists, and so you're downgrading, right, like what you're there to celebrate, essentially, right? If you're there to say this is an evening to celebrate quote unquote serious cinema, right, and serious in the sense of that these are people who are again luminaries at the top of their craft. I'm at the top of my craft here. I'm nominated for an Oscar. And then I'm standing next to Kim. You see how that's not, it makes it just play, right? So if it's just play, then, and my friend said this, just bring back the Oscars lunch. Don't waste people's time with a 3 or 4 hour thing at night. We don't need to see that no more, because with them, they're everywhere, and they are invading and I was going to say commercializing, but that would be bad faith, right? Because they're all being sold like different gossip stories and stuff like that. So it's the commercialization is already there. But I think you lose the thread when you add the other folks. So they should have their own show. They can have, a reality show award, Oscars, social and media Oscars and stuff like that. And those people can have their red carpet and work the hell out of it, right? But then they'll be standing next to one another, so they all know what they had to go through to get into that space. And so they're, when you see them you talking to each other, like, it makes sense, right? That is their industry. It's muddying the waters. Again, I know it's like seems like a snobby thing to say, but I really feel like it's muddying the waters in ways where artists are being disrespected, because it's just, you just came off two strikes, if not 3 strikes, where you were not paying these people. These are artists. You were not paying them to write. You were not paying them to act, to emote, right, to share these stories. And so it's like, okay, so that was quote unquote rectified, but then you're like, oh, here's the night where we show where we value what you do, and then your movie's nominated for an Oscar, and the movie this woman was in, yeah, Kim's movies wasn't going to be nominated for an Oscar, right? I mean, come on. Come the fuck on. So I'll leave it there. I won't be addressing this ever again, but it really makes me angry. Like if I, published a whole ass book and I'm at the Pulitzer Prize and Kim Kardashian shows up, yo, I'm gonna lose my shit. I really will. I won't embarrass anyone, but I'm gonna be looking like artists can never get any respect out of here ever. It's just like, as much as people say they appreciate art, they appreciate the songs they're listening to, right? The paintings, the sculptures they see, the movies they watch, the books they read. No. People, ugh. I'm going to leave that alone. And I have to start work in a few minutes here. So this has been The Composite with Deanne Battle, Season 3, Episode 2. No one joined me today, but that's okay because the replay will be available here on Instagram and then also on YouTube. So you all have a great day, and we're going to go live again tomorrow. All right? God bless.